All right, guys, welcome to the Crawford County, Illinois Ghost Hunters Society live talk show. My name is Jason Snyder, and I'll be your host tonight. If you have never watched our talk show before, thank you guys for tuning in. This is episode number 28. So it's probably going to be a short show tonight, and I apologize for getting a late start tonight, guys. Had a medical run I had to do for the fire department, so I'm kind of getting back late. So just bear with me, but tonight we're going to have a pretty good show. We're going to be talking about the early days of ghost hunting. As far as the Crawford County Ghost Hunters and ghost hunting in general, the way the technology has advanced from where we were at to start out with to now. We're going to talk about paranormal technology, where we're at now, and also some of our early ghost hunts that we done way back in the day. So last show on 2020, we recapped, all of our investigations, or a lot of our good investigations from 2020. And now we're going to go back in time a little tonight and tell you guys a little bit about, the Crawford County Ghost Hunters, how it got started, and give you a little, history lesson on the Crawford County Ghost Hunters and some of the stuff we done and why we take the approach we do today regarding paranormal investigating and researching paranormal occurrences and phenomena. So we're going to try to go about an hour and a half here tonight. I got a lot of stuff going on, but I want to thank everyone for tuning in. You can visit our website at CrawfordCountyGhostHunters.org. If you have not done that, we do need to update that for 2021, which I have not had time to do, so I apologize, but we will be getting our website up to date here soon. You can email us at illinoishauntings@gmail.com. If you have any questions or locations you want us to investigate, send us an email at illinoishauntings@gmail or message us on our Facebook page, and we will try to respond to your questions as quick as possible. Again, we do not charge for paranormal investigations of homes and residents. So definitely, if you have something out there that you think is haunted, possibly haunted, get a hold of us. We will investigate that for you if we believe that it's legitimate. If you're watching tonight, you're probably out there watching on the Facebook page. We also dual stream to YouTube, so don't forget that, guys. If you'd rather watch stuff on YouTube, you can also do that. You can get on YouTube and check us out. The address for that is YouTube.com/Crawford County Ghost Hunters. And we just don't monitor stuff on YouTube like we do on our Facebook page. So I apologize for that. If you would rather use the YouTube format, switch over to Facebook to get your questions answered. You can also find us on Instagram at Instagram.com/Crawford County Ghost Hunters or at Crawford County Ghost Hunters on Instagram if you want to go on there and follow us. Music tonight, as always, is by the Midnight Syndicate. All rights reserved, used with permission. Those guys let us use their music for our intros and our investigations. Really cool guys. And definitely give them a look. They've got some really cool music out there. They got stuff on YouTube. They got stuff on Spotify. Check out their website at midnightsyndicate.com. Definitely, if you like the horror type music and the scary stuff, check out midnightsyndicate.com. Okay, and I don't have any co-hosts with me tonight, so I am winging it tonight on my own. It's just going to be me, and we're going to talk about the early days of the Crawford County Ghost Hunters. In the early days of ghost hunting in general and how it's changed and how crazy it's gotten over the years. And, the almost to the point to where we went from not knowing anything about paranormal occurrences, ghostly type phenomena, haunting phenomena, to, advancing in our technology. And we still don't know what's going on. That's because it's paranormal. But I'm going to try to get your comments looking up here. Oh, what's going on my comment board? There we go. Now I can see everybody. It's like we got a lot of people tuning in tonight. Christopher's out there, Karen, Tammy, Joe, Vicky. Thank you all. A lot of you, I know I missed some of you. Michael, Staffy, Diana Dart, Beverly. It's like a few of you are commenting already, and I don't know who's watching unless you guys comment. So I apologize if you guys watch every night. I don't mention your names. I look at who's commenting on our comment board, and that's how I go by who I can see is out there. But anyway, guys, we're going to start out with the early days of the Crawford County Ghost Hunters, some of our early investigations, how we got started. Hey, Dale's out there. TJ Swanner's watching tonight. Hey, TJ, he's got some cool stories that he went with me on some of the early days. So that's pretty neat. He's out there watching tonight. But the Crawford County Ghost Hunters, we've been doing this for a long time, guys. I've been doing this since like 1996 officially. I started doing this when I was like 16, and we started going all over the place, investigating different locations, different places that had the presence of paranormal activity. And that's how kind of the Crawford County Ghost Hunters got its start. We were investigating a long, long time before the TV shows became popular. We're going to get into all that too. And I preach and moan and groan about all these TV shows, and I still don't like them, guys. But looks like Jennifer Baker's out there watching. She definitely knows my history. That's a cousin of mine. She watches the show a lot. Hey, Jenny. But anyway, we started investigating, years ago, and we didn't know anything. There wasn't a lot of stuff on the internet. The internet was new. I mean, the internet was just getting, to where it was popular, and there was a few ghost sites up on the internet. We put our first website up in about, I think, 2001 area. We got our original Crawford County Ghost Hunters website put up, and that was CrawfordCountyGhostHunters.com. And unfortunately, that thing got hacked by the Chinese or something. I don't know who done it, but I'm blaming the Chinese like Trump does. But anyway, it was a Chinese hack. We'll say they hacked into our website, but that thing got hacked like about, I don't know, probably 12 years later. Somebody hacked into it. We had to switch it from .com to .org, which it is now. And back in the early days, back in the glory days of our website, it was really cool. I mean, it was a lot better than it is now because back then websites were the thing. You didn't have social media like Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat. You got on websites. So our website was way better back in the day than it is now. So I apologize, because not a lot of people get on websites anymore. They just get on Facebook and check people's Facebook pages out. So, we do have a website now. It is CrawfordCountyGhostHunters.org. But back in the early days, we didn't know a whole lot. We were investigating claims of paranormal occurrences. There was maybe, I can remember 10 or 12 big players in the paranormal world that had websites along with us back before the TV shows. And believe it or not, now there is just millions and millions and millions of ghost groups, which unfortunately, there's pros and cons to that. There's so many people doing it nowadays that there's a lot of bad information out there, but it's good because it gets, it makes it more popular to where we're more accepted in the field of research that we do now today. And that's a good thing too. We back, when we first started this, when I first started it, I was a kid basically. I was back then, my parents was like questioning me, what the heck are you doing? I had some relatives, questioning, what's going on, why are you going to cemeteries late at night and spending like all your nights, in dark places and cemeteries. I had one relative, well, she probably still thinks I am, but I had one relative that thinks I was into like devil worship and satanic stuff because I was going into these cemeteries at night and investigating them, and they didn't understand what I was doing. They didn't understand why we were doing it. It was because we were trying to research life after death. Even back then, that was our main goal. We really haven't changed that process since the beginning. Our whole thing behind doing this is to document and record evidence of life after death and to show people. And if we can just ease one person's mind about the dying process over the years, and show them that it's okay, to die. And that, we do pass on. We have proof that there is life after death. That helps a lot of people out. And but our whole goal, throughout the years has been to, document, record evidence of life after death and paranormal occurrences. It's not just life after death, but we do any type of paranormal research into, any type of paranormal phenomena. It could be anything from UFOs to cryptozoology stuff like Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Dogman. We've investigated a lot of stuff over the years. We don't just investigate ghosts and hauntings, but that is our specialty. And that is what we, specialize in and focus the most on is ghosts, hauntings, and life after death, the research of life after death and ghostly and haunting-like phenomena. But we've investigated UFOs out in the field, alien reports, alien encounters, Bigfoot, reports, Bigfoot encounters. But, back when we started, we didn't have a lot of equipment, and they didn't have these stores on the internet like they do now. We didn't have that luxury of going to ghosthunterstore.com or ghoststop.com and getting our equipment. We had to improvise and use equipment that was from other stuff. Like EMF meters weren't sold as ghost hunting equipment. They were sold to detect electromagnetic fields by electricians and non-contact laser thermometers. A lot of people went crazy using those things, which we know have they're not very good. they don't have very good uses anymore in paranormal research. But the non-contact laser thermometers, those were used by a lot of people, from people, electricians again, to people trying to see how cold their freezers were, and mechanics. A lot of this stuff we had to improvise and bring into the paranormal field back in the day because we didn't have the equipment that was specifically made for paranormal research like we do today. And but going back to the early days, we would drive around. I had a group of friends, and we would drive around to locations that were reported to be haunted. And we would check out cemeteries, mostly. We would go all over the, county. There's like 300 cemeteries, I believe, in Crawford County. And I mean, we've hit those like, I don't know how many times, probably at least 5 times a piece, all 300 cemeteries or more. But, there was a lot of locations that we couldn't find, so we had to use topographic maps to find it. I'm talking, this was back before, we had GPS units. This was back before we had Google Maps. We had to use topographic maps and old maps that we found with cemetery locations and kind of go to the library, and our local library, everything was in rods. It's like 15 rods east of a big tree, you'll find a tombstone. Or, 23 rods east of County Road, whatever. We didn't have 911 addresses back then either. Stuff was a lot more difficult, back in the day. But, gosh, to go back to those days versus the year we had, stuff's going on now, with everything. Sometimes I do want to go back, it seems like. But it was a lot harder to research. It was a lot harder to find cemetery locations. Unlike today, and that's why I try to tell these new paranormal investigators that are just starting it out, they've got it made, but you got to be careful because the old school ways have been lost. And that's what I want to talk about tonight too, as we progress with tonight's show, is how, these old school techniques that we used to use back in the day are being lost. And the old school mindset is being lost in paranormal research. And paranormal research going into 2021 is the best it's ever been, and it's the worst it's ever been. And I'm gonna explain that to you guys why here after a while, why I'm making that statement, because in some regards it's really good, in some regards it's horrible. So, but going back into when we were investigating in those days, we had we had compasses for EMF meters. When we first started out, we had wind chimes we'd hang up. We'd put flour at the base of doors, to see if we get any footprints in the flour. We'd put salt around, tables or chair legs to see if they would move. We would improvise. I don't know if you guys know those pull string fireworks that you used to get at the 4th of July that you could put on doorknobs and they will pop. Well, we used to tie those to doors. That was our motion detectors. If somebody, or a door alarm, somebody opened that door, or ghost or spirit would happen to open that door, it would pull that pull string firework and set it off, and we'd hear it, as we're investigating. A lot of stuff, that we improvised back in the day that you can even do still at home today, with the ghost hunting equipment and some of the stuff. A compass basically works and acts as an EMF meter because it's detecting, that magnetic field. When you get it in a high EMF field, sometimes it will spin and it won't always point north. It will affect the compass. And that's how you knew you were encountering some type of weird electromagnetic field or some type of magnetic disturbance that you couldn't explain. And compasses are still good for that. I mean, old school techniques like that work pretty good still for paranormal research. But we had Polaroid cameras, 35 millimeter cameras we used back in the day where, we'd snap the picture. The Polaroid was cool because then we could see it. We didn't have digital cameras. When we started out, we were using 35 millimeter, which is still the bomb for paranormal research. I don't care what anybody says, all this digital technology. If you could give me a 35 millimeter camera or a digital camera, I'm going to take that 35 millimeter camera all day long, especially for evidence, documentation, and proof that the event took place. Because with 35 millimeter cameras, you've got the negative, you got the film for proof, and all this digital technology can be manipulated so easily, with the SD cards and Photoshop and all this. 35 millimeter also, just was awesome as far as clarity. You didn't have to worry about, how many megapixels you had and all that. Of course, you had to get high-speed film, some of it, 800 speed film. We used infrared film back in the day, even 35 millimeter infrared, which you had to load into the camera in the dark because it could not be exposed to light of any type. So you had to be extremely careful loading infrared film into a 35 millimeter camera. It had to be developed a special way also, because you can get light leakage into infrared film and cause anomalies that could be paranormal. The 35 millimeter cameras were like the thing back then. They are still, pretty much unmatched as far as evidence regarding, photography and paranormal research. But we started out, people started calling us, when they found out I had a group. And this was before I even had a website, and officially on the internet. People would call our group and ask us to investigate houses. Most of our early day investigations were houses. And I remember one of our first investigations that we ever conducted, and it was located near Hudsonville, Illinois. And it was an old farmhouse. And what was going on were these people were seeing a little girl in the house. And I'm talking, this is way back. I don't even know, probably 96, 97, somewhere in there. But they were seeing a little girl in there, and she was seen by multiple witnesses. The water was turning on in the house. They had a foreign exchange student, and this is what was really cool. They'd had foreign exchange students over a course of 2 or 3 years. And I can't draw. I'm no artist. Never claimed to be. But it was really unique that 2 of the foreign exchange students that stayed at this house were artists and could draw. I mean, like sketch artists. These girls were good when they drew this out. But they had a foreign exchange student stay there 1 year that witnessed the apparition of a girl in this home. And, the first go around, the owners didn't think much of it. They thought there was weird activity, but it's like, okay, she's seen something. She drew it out. Well, the next year, they rotate them out. They get new exchange students every year. Well, the next year, a new one came in, and she happened to be able to draw. She witnessed the same ghost, So after year 2, they call us in, and they drew pretty much the same picture and facial features of this, little girl ghost that they had both seen. 2 different exchange students from 2 different countries that had never talked to each other. That's pretty strange. That's pretty good evidence when you've got, 2 different years, 2 different people from 2 different countries drawing the picture of the same ghosts that have never met or talked to each other in their life. So we went in and investigated the location, and I think I'm going to go ahead and tell where it was at. I'm not even sure if the individuals are alive anymore. It was over in Hudsonville. Their names were Bill and Darlene Watson. And that was one of our first investigations. We called it the Watson House. there's a huge barn out there. I mean, just a massive barn over in the Hudsonville area outside this house. And they just had all kinds of reports of stuff. She was sick one night, Darlene was, and she was looking up and she said she saw lights circling her on the ceiling. And the lights just kept moving around and around in the ceiling. And, that was one of the reports we had. There was an attic area that they didn't access that they thought was kind of bad. They didn't want anybody to go in. And so, a lot of weird, strange things going on in the house, a lot of strange things going on in the barn. We took EMF meters to the barn, the ones we eventually got because we investigated the place like 3 times, I think. And we eventually took EMF meters, this is later on down the road, into the barn tri-fields and set it in the barn. We got some of the weirdest activity I can recall. Like these EMF meter, tri-field meters would go off at certain times, and it wasn't the cycle, the power lines or anything causing it like that. There were tri-field natural meters. We were out in the barn pretty good ways from power lines, but these EMF meters would go off, and like just peg out. And like some people back in the day believed like when you get readings like that it indicates a portal haunting. Now, I don't know, now that I've been doing this for so many years and stuff, I'm not even, a big fan of that theory, but I believe there are some places that, it's a good possibility, like, Williamsburg Hill or some locations that have cell towers, which I've talked about, or radio towers with strong electromagnetic fields associated with them. But sorry, reading your comments here. Carrie, she want to know when our next investigation is going to be. I'm going to talk about that. Our next investigation is actually going to be our first live investigation of the year. Well, I got some of you guys on here still. I don't bore you to death. Is going to be the 22nd. Let me make sure that's the right date. Go look at my calendar. Seeing that's one of your questions on the feed here. Yeah, our first live investigation of the year. Officially, we may go live, if we get called into, something crazy before then, we may go live before that. But our first live investigation, will be the 22nd. And I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag yet, but that investigation is going to be a good one. And this place has been on the Travel Channel. I think it's listed as like number 4 or 5 as one of the most terrifying places in the United States. So that's going to be our investigation, but I'm not going to reveal where or what that is yet until we post it on our Facebook page. And we'll talk about it probably on our next show because I think we have one more show before then. But yes, we will be going live January the 22nd, guys. And it's going to be a good one. You do not want to miss it. So definitely tune in for that investigation. But getting back to the the investigations in the early days of us investigating the Watson house over by Hudsonville. We went in and back in the day, we used the old cassette recorders. We didn't have digital recorders either. We had the old cassette recorders. And I still think you get a lot better quality and more EVP off of a cassette recorder than you do digital recorders. And that all goes into the theory of how a ghost or spirit puts their voice, or how do they get the voice on there in the first place. Are they talking out loud? Are they imprinting it onto the magnetic tape? On digital recorders, are they imprinting it onto the device inside? Or are they physically speaking out loud in a frequency or tone that we can't hear and the microphone is picking it up? There's still a lot of theories on how that happens. And I think sometimes it happens both ways. But with magnetic tape, cassette recorders, we would pick up a lot of EVP and a lot of clear EVP. And even back in the day, I came up with guidelines and protocols for, EVP and EVP research. So we would not get false anomalies or false voices. But of course, we're way better today than we were back then. I didn't know anything compared to what I know now. But, we thought orbs were ghosts in that day. And that was due mainly to a lot of the sites that even existed before us, like the International Ghost Hunters Society. And I like Dave. I was really good friends with Dave. He's now passed away, but Dave Oster. And I'm going to do actually a show regarding that, kind of a show in memory of him sometime soon in the near future when I get some stuff together. But the International Ghost Hunters Society, we were a associate club or member of the International Ghost Hunters Society back in the day. and it was ran by Dave and Sharon Oster. And they, they had these ideas. They had they claimed to have, I don't know what it was, like 8,000 ghost photos, legitimate, real, verified ghost photos on their website. And their website was ghostweb.com. And I think the website is actually still exists and is up, and it's more of a memory page to Dave and Sharon. And actually, last time I looked, the picture that was up was a photograph I took of Dave and Sharon on their bio. They've both passed away now, but I'm going to do a show in memory of them here soon too. But anyway, their ideas and philosophy behind ghost research was good and bad. They taught that ghosts were just people without bodies, and that I believe is definitely true. But they taught that pretty much everything was a ghost. Orbs, dust, anything, rain. They had no background in photography whatsoever. At least if they did, they didn't experiment with photography and didn't rule out natural explanations before coming to the conclusion that these things were not ghosts. But they pretty much fired up the whole paranormal community back in the early days of ghost hunting. The International Ghost Hunters Society did. And, especially the internet related ghost hunters, they had all these ghost photos. Everything was a ghost. You had seen these trailing balls of light on their page. You see multiple orbs all over the cemeteries, and we know today, midway, I don't know, I'd say 10 years into my ghost hunting, maybe 5 years into my ghost hunting career, I started debunking that stuff and saying, hey, these aren't orbs. And I had a big discussion with Dave and Sharon. I'm like, this is not paranormal, which eventually led to me venturing off from the International Ghost Hunters Society and no longer being a part of them, even though I was still good friends with Dave and Sharon. They continued to come to my house every summer, and we would go investigate, when they could. They would travel all over the United States in this little camper and investigate different places, all over the U.S. They wrote several books, and I'm actually in one of the books. It was forwarded by, let me see here. I think I got that somewhere here. Brad Steiger was the forward to that book, but it was called Restless Spirits Across America. There's a chapter in there titled Jason Snyder, Ghost Hunter. But, and it talked about some of our adventures that we had, while they were here. But long story short, they were preaching that orbs were, ghosts. All these little spots you get on cameras are ghosts, and they are not, guys. They are not ghosts. They are dust particles. And most of the balls of light you see with trails behind them, that's caused from slow shutter speeds, moving the camera, the object itself actually being in motion like a dust particle. If the wind blows a dust particle and you try to take a picture of that, it's going to have a trail behind it. And the different colors come from different particles in the atmosphere. It just depends on what you're taking a picture of and how close it is to the camera lens. Your camera flash is bouncing back off of these particles, these suspended particles in the air, and causing them to show up on film or even digital photography. That's where you get these spots or these orbs that we thought, even me, back in the day, were ghosts. And even up in our first haunted tours, we had a manual printed out. To tell you guys how dumb we were, and how far we've advanced over the years, we thought orbs were ghosts too. We had a manual for our first haunted tours that listed orbs as the spirits of the dead and balls of light that can be seen with the eye. These are ghosts and these are spirits of the dead. And we gave a definition of what an orb was, what an ectomist was, a supercharged orb. Oh my. Those were really active and intelligent ghosts when it was just the camera moving or the light source moving and the shutter speed of the camera causing it. We know a lot more about photography nowadays than we knew back in the early days of ghost hunting. And Debbie says all orbs are not paranormal related. No orbs are paranormal related, hardly. There are hardly any orbs captured on film or video that are paranormal, guys. It is dust particles or other suspended particles, rain, pollen. Sometimes when you get different colored ones, that is an indicator of what the particle was. If it was yellow, it could be pollen. If it was red, it could be something else. But it all is the particle and what that particle is composed of, and that camera flash reflecting off that of a close range is what's causing that. you've got that orb or that dust particle, right here close to the camera lens, with a flash. And as soon as that flashes, it bounces back into that camera lens and reflects off of those particles, and you get your orbs. But even the magnesium fluoride coating on some camera lenses can cause some of them to look purple or blue colored. And that was from some of the coating they put on camera lenses back in the day. So if you get purple colored ones, you've got an older camera, you've got a camera with magnesium fluoride coating on the lens, that will also cause colors and distortions to your so-called orbs, which are just dust particles. But, we thought they were ghosts back in the day. And I'm the first, I'll get on here and say how dumb we were back in the early days of ghost hunting. I'm not going to claim we knew everything. We don't know everything now, but, our technology and our knowledge of, photography, of technology that's advanced, of, I guess you could call it the spirit world, it's highly advanced from where we were at, way back in the 90s when we started. So, and it's really cool, that we're advancing that far and have advanced that far. But we've always been the ones that try to debunk things. Even with the whole orb phenomena, we went out in cemeteries and gravel roads. And I did this multiple nights. And that's why I know what this stuff looks like. We kicked up gravel on the gravel roads, took pictures of it. We took pictures in rain. We took pictures of the snow. We took pictures of bugs. All kinds of different stuff just to see, what these things look like on photographs. And so we can debunk 90% of photographs that are taken. We don't take pictures into any type of reflective surface. Also, we learned that back years ago, and people are still doing that. I don't know how many groups will post pictures of ghosts in windows or a china cabinet. Anything with a reflective surface, you cannot say is paranormal. There is flash reflection, there's pareidolia, light and the way the glass manipulates the light of the camera flash, or just, has images that there's spots in glass, even if there's smudges on the glass, if there's bubbles in the glass, a lot of that stuff, even what's behind the glass, affects what you see. Because pareidolia is you thinking you see something that's there and it's actually not. The human mind wants to see these things. It's kind of the psychology of ghost hunting we're getting into. It's like the man in the moon. You look at the moon and, some people see a face, in the moon when that's not an actual face. Same things happens all the time with photography and photographs. People will bring me a photograph, say, hey, there's a ghost in this picture. I look at it, I see a dresser with a pair of pants hanging on it in the background. And they seen the pair of pants, and then there's some black shadows, and their mind just creates a ghost out of that when it's actually something natural. And that's why I'm not a big fan of, photography. We do it, but your main things is, documentation, photography, video, and audio. That is your main thing in paranormal investigating that you have to, document with. That photography, you got to be real careful with. 90% of the time, it's not paranormal. I'd say 98% of the time, it's not paranormal. Only a slight percentage is a paranormal anomaly. There's a lot of myths and stuff that's caught in photographs that's related to cigarette smoke or your breath in cold weather. People don't take proper precautions and hold the camera out at arm's length and hold their breath. I said breath. That was bad. They don't hold their breath when they're taking a picture. So, they get that breath on there, and people send that in. They think it's a ghost or somebody smoking beside them. Nowadays, there's vapes. People get, the vape smoke and they think it's paranormal and it's not. So just a lot of stuff with photography that, is definitely not paranormal, but people think it is. But back in the day, we didn't know that stuff. We were right there on those haunted tours. Every time somebody got a whole picture of orbs, oh my God, there's ghosts everywhere. This is the most haunted place on earth. And now we know what the most haunted place on earth is. And it's in Sumner, Illinois. But, the places teach us things, and each mistake we made taught us, and we learn from our mistakes. And that's what we've done as paranormal investigators and researchers over the years to advance our technology, is we've learned from our past mistakes, and that's made us what we are and who we are today as the Crawford County Ghost Hunters, because we've always, tried to debunk things and advance our technology and advance our way of thinking in paranormal research. Where these other teams, there's still teams out there that preach orbs or ghosts, these balls of light, even on video. If it's self-illuminating, if you got a self-illuminating ball of light that seems to have intelligence, and yeah, we might look at that. Maybe it like split and went around somebody, which we've seen. Maybe it did a circle around a person, went into a door. If it's self-illuminating, but very seldom does that happen. Most of the time it's a bug. You got to be real careful, because bugs do the same thing. They're intelligent. They'll go, like an intelligent being would, and go in a door, but it's like, the bugs look different, on photographs and stuff, so that's another big factor, is bugs on IR, moths, flies, all kinds of stuff that show up on infrared video that people mistake for paranormal anomalies. So very seldom do you get any type of what they call orbs or balls of light that are paranormal in origin. And it's very, very rare. I mean, it's like winning the lottery, guys. Yeah, Wendy says bugs look like fairies. They really do. And that's another report that we've gotten a lot, that, oh my God, it's a fairy. And it's one of those big giant mosquito looking bugs. I don't know what they're called, a katydid or something like that. But, they got those big wings, and they look like fairies. Well, no, it's just a bug. But a lot of times, bugs will be irregular, where if it's perfect and circular, that's always going to be moisture in the atmosphere, dust, pollen. If it's a perfect circle, it's dust, pollen, moisture, something like that. And if it's got any irregularity to it, sometimes that's probably a bug. So that's how you can tell the difference between a lot of it. Carrie says, I want to go back to Sumner. I was completely wild at the place, Jason. Plus the ghost owe me a bowling ball. That's pretty good. Yeah, Carrie, I'm glad you got to see some of the activity at Hannibal and what goes on there, because we still are in all of it and have no idea what is causing it, guys. But yeah, Carrie was on, I believe, our Christmas one that I didn't get to attend because I was sick with a bad cold or something, and still kind of got the after effects of it. 2 weeks later, it's kind of weird. I don't know. I hope it wasn't COVID, but I stayed away from everybody just in case. But yeah, and the killer cardinals, Karen's saying. But the early days of ghost hunting, we investigated some places in Crawford County, some big places. We started our haunted tours in probably 2020. So we've been doing haunted tours for going on a little over 20 years now. And some of the locations we originally investigated, though, in Crawford County, some of the really, really good ones were, houses. We got called into a lot of houses. We got called into a lot of businesses. Some businesses we still can't talk about. One of the really cool active places that we investigated back in the day, probably midway, through, I guess you can call my paranormal career up until now, would be the Robinson Spook House. Now, this was a location that was located on North Jefferson Street in Robinson, Illinois. And thanks, John. He said, honest testimonial there. Yeah, I try to be honest with everything. And like I say, I admit that back in the day, we didn't know, what we were doing. So it's like, that's why I look at these new groups and try to educate, do educational shows regarding paranormal investigating. If there's new groups out there watching this, maybe they'll learn a thing or two. And, from our mistakes and our, things we did back in the day. But we investigated a place called the Robinson Spook House. And I'm telling you what, that place was crazy. That's weird. Debbie is saying any house is close to the library in Robinson. That's where it was at, Debbie. I don't know if that's the house you're referring to, but that's the house I'm talking about. It was over by the library on North Jefferson. There was also a house with pillars right across from that I believe the Printables now live in, or did live in, that we investigated also. That was haunted. There was 3 houses on North Jefferson. But the Robinson Spook House was really crazy. Like Courtney Bowen said there, it was pretty wicked. I mean, we would go in there. I had a key. We would do haunted tours in there. Me and the owner, Dave Lackemeyer, at the time, he was the owner of the place. He originally called us in to investigate the location because he was hearing knocks and bangs in the basement. He was going to turn it into apartments, and something started pounding on the floor underneath him. and he was freaked out. And Dave, he was a big guy. He's still a big guy, probably 6 foot. And he got thrown or knocked into the kitchen area one time when he was doing some remodeling of the house. He was standing in the living room and got hit and knocked into the kitchen. He called us in to investigate and said, "Hey, I got a problem in here." He's saying, I've got knocks, I got hit. And that led us into probably a 3-year investigation or more into that house. I can't remember how long we got the opportunity to investigate that place before it got tore down, but we investigated that thing probably 100 times or more. I mean, we were there every weekend, just like we're at Pine Lawn now. You guys are probably getting sick of, seeing us at Pine Lawn Manor, but our deal back in the day was the Robinson Spook House. That was our place. Now we know that Pine Lawn Manor makes that look like a joke. Not saying it looks like a joke, because there was weird stuff that happened at the Spook House, but the Spook House and Pine Lawn Manor, it's the same thing. We were there every weekend because we were having weird stuff happen, and we couldn't explain it. We would get all kinds of EVP activity. Just off the chart. Like anytime you turn on a recorder, you would get clear replies of a man. Everything from, one night we got an EVP of a man saying, "I'm going to choke you." And there was a female in there investigating with me, and she was kind of joking around with it and probably being a little, she probably shouldn't have been saying some of the things she was saying. And the EVP said, "I'm going to choke you." And that changed her mind a little. So there's a lot of weird stuff. Cabinet doors would open and close by themselves in there. And there was a set of crutches that mysteriously would appear all over the house, like different places. Like it would form an X. Like we would move those crutches down to the basement. They would be upstairs. One time, the owner left. I had the key. It was padlocked up because I did haunted tours there and investigated it every weekend. I had permission. And we left the crutches upstairs as an experiment, locked the house up. Owner left on vacation, I believe it was. We come back in, I think the night later, open up the basement door, which was padlocked. We went down to the basement, and the crutches were on the staircase in the basement forming an X, like trying to say, "Hey, don't go down there." So these crutches would move around in the house, which was kind of my first encounter with like moving objects like we have at Pine Lawn. Things move around in Pine Lawn too, but the Robinson Spook House, had stuff that moved around like that. These crutches. It was really creepy. Like people got freaked out. There was a preacher that went in there one time with Dave, and he was shining around, and he seen something black go between his flashlight and the wall. He ran out of there. We tried to sell the Robinson Spook House on eBay as a haunted house because Dave didn't want it anymore. And I still kick myself every day for not buying the place because it went really cheap. Today it'd be really cheap. This couple from Florida came up to look at it, and they went in there. They even put a down payment on this thing. Went in there, looked at it, came running out of the house, and told Dave they'd never be back, got in their car, and drove straight back to Florida and left Dave with their money. So we still to this day do not know what they seen or heard in there, but they wanted out of there immediately. So a lot of encounters and a lot of activity took place in the Spook House. I guess I wouldn't say it was a joke compared to, Pine Lawn, but Pine Lawn is still the craziest set I've ever seen. But, but there was a lot of activity going on in there. Me and a buddy went in there investigating one night, and out loud, plain as day, both of us heard a guy say, "Go, get out," like in that voice. And that is what he said. I turned around and looked. His name was Damon. He didn't even get in my truck. He ran down the road. And if you know where the Mexican restaurant is right now, out on Main Street by Robinson at the time, he went clear down to that building. I don't think it was Mexican restaurant at the time, but he ran from North Jefferson to that corner and didn't even get in my truck. He took off running. I had to go get him. That's how scared he was. So I was laughing about that for a long time. But we had people. One of my team members, Barb Legg, she was shoved down there, which we believe she was shoved down. We don't think she fell. but she actually fell down and bloodied her lip. I think her nose maybe even broke her glasses. And that was at the Spook house. She said she thought she doesn't understand what happened, but she just physically fell and just bloodied her up pretty good. So a lot of weird stuff. Reading your comments, guys. But anyway, that was the Robinson Spook House, in Robinson, Illinois. A lot of strange things. We thought I don't like psychics, didn't believe in psychics back then, still don't believe in psychics for using them for paranormal documentation and actual evidence of paranormal phenomena. I'm not saying psychics aren't real and they don't hit on stuff once in a while. I'm saying we do not use them for evidence because I've said this 100 times, somebody talking in some psychic's ear is not evidence of paranormal phenomena. You have to have documentation through audio, video, photography to prove to the world that this stuff is real. It's not going to come from a psychic. So the whole psychic thing I didn't like even back in the day. We've always been against psychics for evidence, not against psychics in general. So if you're psychic out there, don't get mad and upset. It's not that we don't believe in you. We just don't use it for evidence. So because I have a lot of people, a lot of teams like, you guys don't use psychics. And like, no, we don't. We're not like other teams. We want evidence. Or we base our findings on evidence and the documentation of that evidence through video, audio, and photography. I mean, pretty much if you, I know we see things at Pine Lawn, but we've also got it on video and audio. Every event that's taken place, we have got on audio. We've had the recorder running the whole time. A lot of it we've captured on video. A lot of it we've captured on live feed. So if you don't have it on video, if you don't have it on audio, if you don't have it on a photograph, then it did not happen. Because, I can, even though I see a guy come out of my wall right now here in this room and walk toward me, I have no proof of that. I'm just telling you guys that. So that's why we are the way we are. We want to document and show the public evidence, not hearsay, not bull crap coming out of somebody's mouth. We want to just tell you and show you flat out evidence of this is a voice on a recorder that you can hear. You hear this guy's response, his intelligent response to our questions. We're not going to say the psychic came in and said, oh, a little girl died here in a fire in 1972. Well, I mean, they could have researched that beforehand. They could have got that information from anywhere. They could have got nowadays the internet. That's why it's really hard to use psychics as evidence, in today's paranormal research world, because cell phones, you get this cell phone, I can research a place in 2 seconds and I go in, bang, I'm a psychic. I know all about this place. So that's why I'm not a big fan of psychics. All these TV shows nowadays are using them. It's just a bunch of bull for entertainment. And any team that uses it for evidence, I have to question that team's ability to investigate because they just cannot be used. I know I rant about psychics all the time, but that is why. I've seen a lot of hoaxes. I've seen a lot of fake psychics, that tell these people stuff and try to make people believe stuff. And they always try to scare you. Doesn't matter what the psychic is. It's evil. It's demonic. It's there to kill you, get out of your house. That's not the way it works. Like going back to what I talked about in the early days with Dave and Sharon saying ghosts are people without bodies. That's what they are. They're our relatives, they're our loved ones, they're people that have passed away that have lived on this earth before. And they're not demons, they're not evil. They're people that, had bodies at one time, and they keep some of them keep their same attitude they did in life. If they were a prankster, they're a prankster in death. We just can't, go around and use psychics, for our evidence. And that's why, if you guys wonder why I'm always bashing psychic stuff, it's not that I don't believe that psychics are real. I don't think it can be used as evidence. So I'm going to get off that little bandwagon. But going back to the Spook house, we had a psychic tell us that there was somebody buried underneath the house and nothing. I mean, we dug into it, couldn't find anything. So, excuse me, getting choked again, but reading your comments. Angry man, wonder if there's a new house, any issues. Yeah, everything is evidence. Trying to read through your comments, guys, and answer them. I'm still going hoarse from the cold I had. Sorry. But anyway, John says, how much historical prep do you do before your investigations? I can talk again. We do a lot of historical prep. Sometimes it just depends on the location. Carrie says, I agree. Jen says, no one knows. But we do a lot of historical prep. You know, it just depends on where we go, John. Like sometimes we don't like to do historical prep because, again, we don't want to know, you know, what's going on at that location. You know, we try to get evidence through, you know, EVP recordings, ITC research, photographs, video evidence of any type of strange phenomena going on. And sometimes we want to go in blind. You know, we don't want to know any information because it's the same principle as the psychic going in with, you know, internet knowledge. You know, if we go in knowing the full history of a location and we hear a sound or a noise on our ghost box, then, you know, it's automatically David because we read that David died there in 1902. You know, and it's called audio pareidolia a lot of times, you know, and auditory pareidolia. You know, you want to hear things that's not there because you've got a predetermined mindset that that's what's there, that's who died there. So you're going to hear David, you know, in 1902 because you read that history. I got my voice back, guys. I apologize again. Like I say, I'm still kind of got the touch of a cold or something, so I keep losing my voice when I'm talking. But Didder says, do you have video of the Robinson house? We do have video footage of the Robinson house, but it is on VHS that I have to get transferred over to the computer. It was actually on old high 8 tapes that were recorded back in the day there. So the high 8 tapes need to be transferred over to a digital format. So yeah, we do actually have video footage, and we've got a few pictures of it. One of the weirdest pictures we've ever taken, and still to this day not debunked, was at the Robinson Spook House when we were taking pictures to sell it on eBay. We took a picture of the outside of the house, not trying to get any ghosts, not trying to get anything. And when we get it back, or when we looked at it, there is a ghost standing beside the Robinson Spook House, plain as day. And it almost has glowing eyes. And I've tried to this day to debunk it, and I can't. You know, I've blown it up, even with today's technology, with today's knowledge. I still have no clue what caused that image beside the Robinson Spook House. Looks like a lady in a white flowing dress with like 2 glowing eyes. And like I thought, oh, the glowing eyes are reflectors in the background or car tail lights off in the distance. So, I mean, I looked and looked and looked at the background. I looked at the distance. I mean, I'm talking back in the day when it was still there and I could examine the background. We examined the background and there was nothing to cause it. Nothing to cause the image of the flowy, you know, white dress. Just extremely weird. One of the pictures I can't debunk. You know, like I say, there's a small percentage of pictures, of photographs taken that we still can't explain, and that's one of them. So, yeah, going back into the video of that, but yeah, we got a lot of evidence, a lot of EVP activity at the Robinson Spook House. Another location. Trying to read your comments again. Sorry, guys, these comments lag too, so I apologize. I'm sure like there's a little bit of lag in the comments, so I'm trying to like catch up on what you guys are saying here. Jake says, can you show the picture? It is on our Facebook page. If you go to our Facebook page, you can click on our albums and go down to, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the album is titled Robinson Spook House. And we still have the picture on there, I think. If it's not in there, it's under Strange Paranormal Anomalies. But if you go to Robinson Spook House album, it should be on there, Jake. And he said, never mind, you showed us that one. Yeah, it is on our Facebook page, though. But going into another one we done back in the day that was really good was called the Fife Opera House in Palestine, Illinois. And that was another one that sticks out in my mind as a really extremely active location. Not the most haunted I've seen, but it is definitely haunted. There was a man that committed suicide in the Fife Opera House. Harold Fife and David Fife, they were embalmers. And Harold shot himself in the Opera House. Can't remember what year it was. Seems like it was like 31 or 2. I've got a lot of dates running around this head since then. But anyway, he committed suicide in the Fife Opera House by shooting himself in the head. He was actually, there's documentation of it, and there's documentation of it at the library that he was on the phone at the time with the switchboard operator, and they heard it in the background because back then they could listen into stuff like that. And they sent somebody over there, and they found him dead in the Opera House. And that place has been just phenomenal with activity. Just crazy stuff. I don't know what else has happened. We done a lot of historical research on that place. To back that story up a little and talk about how we didn't research that beforehand, though, we went in the first time to investigate that because they were having strange occurrences take place in the Opera House. When we came to investigate it, we set up night shot video cameras, IR night shot still cameras in the auditorium area on the second floor, which at one time was used, that was the opera room area. And Opera House was used for a lot of things over the years, from a bobby pin factory to basically they embalmed people there. They were embalmers. They had an embalming room upstairs. There was a kid's casket there at the time we investigated, which they argue wasn't there or wasn't there. I think they removed it since our investigation because it got a lot of attention, but we have pictures of it, of the kid's casket. And even the second floor, the wall, if it's still there, they did remodel it now, and we have not gotten in since the remodel because the Preservation Society has changed hands, and now they do not want the Fife Opera House known as a haunted place. So that's why we haven't went back in recent years. I did haunted tours there for years. When the Preservation Society was really good and they had people that actually cared about, historical stuff and the history of Palestine and the area. When Phyllis Moraga was on there, she was extremely good about, getting the history of locations out and telling the public, and not so much anymore. Now they want to keep it private and keep it all to themselves. But the Opera House is like an extremely active place. And the upstairs there, the second floor, one of the walls is made out of casket wood from the embalming days. They made a whole wall out of it. But I don't know. I don't know if it's there anymore, the wall, because they redone it, restored the Opera House area upstairs. The auditorium has all been restored. The old chairs and everything were there. Back in the day, there was an old painting that pulled down, and it was painted by Solzman and Landis out of Chicago, which was an old company. And that was pretty neat. I don't even know if they've got it on display anymore, but there's a lot of stuff there that they've changed now. That it was really active. We were in one of the rooms, and we had a TV crew there one night. And I stay away from TV as much as possible over the years. We've been on TV and done documentaries and stuff throughout the years, but I tried to stay away from it as much as possible, because again, they try to fake stuff. They try to over exaggerate. They'll ask you, if you're willing to fake things, especially like certain production companies, Pilgrim Studios, and they wanted me to be on the new Ghost Hunters. They were asking me to fake stuff, and it was bad. That was a whole bad deal. But I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to fake stuff. There's a lot of documentaries and news channels, though, but we brought, I think it was a couple news channels, did reports on the Fife Opera House when we were investigating it. One of them may have been out of Decatur, maybe WAND out of Decatur, and a couple other places. But they did a few TV, segments on the Fife Opera House. And one of the times that they were in there, they had quit filming, they quit rolling. And right after they quit rolling, turned the cameras off, a set of double doors that were over in the right-hand corner of the building, like slammed shut on their own. And the TV crew seeing it, the film crew seeing it, everybody was like freaking out because, of course, this happens after, we quit rolling, but a lot of weird stuff took place in there. It says, Carrie, if you're bored, you can come investigate my house. Yeah, we've got a lot of locations to investigate, Carrie. I mean, yeah, we can definitely try that. So the 22nd location not yet announced, but is it in the top most haunted? Well, Debbie, they say it's in the top most haunted. I mean, anything that's hype and been on the Travel Channel, I have to question, and that's why we investigate a lot of these famous locations, because a lot of them are hype and just in entertainment. So, we try to go to some of these locations like that to back up the claim of whether they are or are not haunted. And that's what we do. We go to some of these more popular locations just to give our opinion on whether the location is a hoax or, it's got legitimate paranormal activity. And of course, you can't judge a place by one investigation a lot of times. Sometimes you can, especially if you do your research, hardcore and historical research and Willow's Weep. But anyway, we've debunked a lot of places, including, Willow's Weep was one of them. In 2019, we got a lot of attention because we told people, this place is fake. Everything about the place was fake. The props brought in were staged. The doors had springs on them, spring-loaded hinges to make the doors move, and they were reporting doors moving and moving the rocks in front of them. Well, yeah, they've got giant spring-loaded hinges on them. The floors creaking and popping. It's like a roller coaster in there. The floors pop and bang. We debunked the chair at Willow's Weep. There was a yellow chair in Willow's Weep that supposedly the guy committed suicide. And now the suicide did take place there. He did shoot himself in the house. So there is a legitimate suicide that took place, but they made up a lot of the other deaths that took place in there. But we do not believe the chair that they are marketing as the bloody chair that all the activity happens on is legit, because we did a blood test on the chair and it came back negative for human blood. So, not only, we do our investigations hardcore, especially when we go into debunk a place, and we took scientific means and protocol into that location and debunked Willow's Weep as having blood on a chair that was supposed to be human blood. Now, could there have been, there could have been some flaws in our testing, but we took real human blood from one of our subjects. The test came back positive. We took the blood sample off of the chair, and all this was video recorded, and it came back negative for human blood. So, not, in our opinion, not blood on the chair at Willow's Weep. So the whole story is pretty much a hoax. And even the family says it's a hoax. This was somebody's loved one that they're taking advantage of and, using his name and everything to make it supposedly the most haunted, scary house in North America. And they even put it on, I think it was William Shatner's, I don't know what TV show he done, but it was on some maybe History Travel. I don't know what channel it was on, but anyway, it's been on a few TV shows as being the most haunted house in North America, the evil most haunted house. They throw in evil. I'm sorry, but just because somebody commits suicide, they're not evil. I've had about 8 friends that committed suicide. They were not evil. So, but anything, they can market for TV, they will. Jake's laughing about my human subject. But yeah, one of my investigators actually volunteered to cut his finger so we could test a real blood sample versus the sample on the chair that night. So he took one for the team, Jake. But the tests all came back negative for human blood. We have the video, and the owner, Dave Spinks, does not want us to release the video because he does not want it to, ruin his reputation of the place is the most haunted place in North America, basically. But we told him anyway. We told the public, and we haven't released the video yet because we're supposed to go back. And I do kind of want to do a second investigation just to make sure there isn't any crazy activity we missed the first time, despite all the fakery. So, I haven't released that video yet, but it may be coming in the near future. We'll see. We do have it still. But Willow's Weep, one of the places we debunked, McPike Mansion this last year in 2020, not really debunked the mansion, but debunked the owner. So just a lot of places we encounter that, we tell you guys the truth and we're not going to hide it. So, but, that's what we do. We try to investigate these locations with an open yet skeptical mind. We don't go in everywhere like, oh my God, this place is fake. We let the place show itself to us. If it has activity, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And we're not going to pretend that it does. The groups that go out there and investigate and they get evidence on every investigation, you have to be extremely careful believing those groups. You don't get evidence on every investigation. It seems like these new groups, and that's what I'm talking about, the old school ways to the new school, where everybody thinks it's a trophy. They think that paranormal investigating and evidence is your trophy at each location. They think they have to collect evidence at every location they go to. I'll tell you what, I'd rather investigate with a paranormal research team that doesn't get any evidence versus the team that gets something everywhere they go. Because the one that gets something everywhere they go obviously is not debunking natural occurrences and saying everything is paranormal, because very rarely do you find a location with paranormal activity. You don't have paranormal activity at every location. Ghost box interaction and communication is not proof of a haunting. A lot of people will get an EVP or a ghost box, especially ghost box stuff. Now, EVP, voices coming out of thin air onto your recorder, that's a lot better evidence than ghost box communication that's coming through radio waves. But when you ask intelligent questions through ghost boxes and get intelligent answers, that's something else. But it still does not prove the location is haunted, because the nature of ghost box and ITC, instrumental transcommunication, it's almost like if it does work, and it does. I've had intelligent responses. It's like a telephone to the dead. But, I can take that to a haunted location and maybe not get any response, take it to a non-haunted location and get a response. What's happening with ITC and instrumental transcommunication, is that, you may be calling upon these ghosts or spirits from somewhere else. They may be answering you from another location and communicating with you from somewhere else other than the location you're investigating. So it's hard to determine that, unless it's the names and dates associated with the particular area or place you're at, you can't prove that location is haunted by ghost box voices. Unless it's dates specifically for that location, names, dates, intelligent responses regarding that particular location. But a lot of times you get a lot of random stuff that isn't associated with it. People think, oh my God, it's haunted because I'm getting I died or I'm cold. That could be a ghost over in Africa. Well, I'm not saying he's cold in Africa. That's a bad example. Iceland, that's a good place for a ghost to be cold. I assume they're going to be hot in Africa, but sorry guys, I'm tired tonight. Did you guys get the okay to the nursing home in Sumner, Illinois? I believe she's talking about the other one, but Troy says, yeah, but Ghost Hunters get them every episode. Yeah, I know, Troy. That's the thing. You got to be extremely careful with these people, though, that I'll get back to the nursing home thing, but that get the evidence everywhere. You got to debunk it. You got to look at your research. You got to investigate things. And like Willow's Weep, we were almost like crime scene investigators, too. And we do that a lot with locations, too. It's like we're investigating crime scenes that may have taken place 100 years ago. We're doing historical research into it. We're doing basically, forensic stuff into these locations. We're documenting the location as we go in with photographs. We photograph every inch of the place like we did with Willow's Weep. We went in and photographed it. So if anything moved, we know during the course of the investigation. We can go back with reference later on. If we have an object move, we can go back and look at that. And we almost treat these locations like crime scenes because, if something moves, I tell people don't touch it. A lot of investigators will run over there and they'll touch it and they'll grab it. Well, you just moved it. I want to measure it. How far did it fly from the windowsill? How far did that picture frame go flying off the wall? Did it fall straight down? Did it come out and land 2 feet out into the living room? So I know distance of whether, it could have happened naturally or it could be something paranormal taking place. You got to measure things. You got to look at them. You got to photograph them. You got to video them. Footprints, that last house over in Edgewood, they said they were getting mysterious muddy footprints. I measured them. It matches up to the same length and width of their child that runs around barefoot. So we pretty much disproved that this ghost was probably his child with, dirty feet. So, you gotta look at the scene and investigate it like a crime scene. And we're looking at these places. We're investigating places that are, extremely old, especially some of these crime scenes, especially with the blood tests we did in the forensic, the blood testing we did on this chair to prove that it was not human blood. I mean, we've got a real blood sample and a blood sample from the chair. I know time can interfere and manipulate the results of a blood test, but it's highly doubtful that's real blood on the Willow's Weep chair over in Cayuga, Indiana. Just a hoax. Try to read some of your comments. Troy. Yeah, he said I was joking to you, like your guys' show a lot. Thanks, Troy. I appreciate that. Was watching out there. But Christina Wright says, did you guys get the okay to nursing home? Oh, going back to the nursing home thing. Yeah, I think you're talking the Methodist Village is probably what you're talking about, Lawrenceville, not the old nursing home. But the Methodist Village, the board met, and I guess it was being sold during the time period that we were getting in there, and it changed hands or has been sold. So now we've got to start at square one again on getting back into the Methodist Village. So it's a no-go right now. If that's the one you're talking about, Christina. But Pine Lawn was an old nursing home too, where we are investigating. That was the nursing home for the mentally disabled. That's where we go all the time. But if you're talking about the Methodist Village, we're back on square one with that, trying to contact the new owner. So hopefully in the near future it'll happen. Did you guys go back to the backyard at the McPike Mansion and see the busted crypt? Tammy, yes, we did go back there, and I do not believe that to be a crypt whatsoever. I think that is a bench or a piece of concrete that's been busted back there. I don't think there is a crypt back there. So again, another flaw in the story of the McPike Mansion, a red flag, in my opinion. Jay Greentree says, when we go back to Pine Lawn, we need to check the date on the coin. Oh, yeah. Excuse me. Oh, she's talking about, now I see your comment, Christina. I'm sorry. Next door to Pine Lawn. No, we have not investigated that yet. Ivan, one of the guys we talked to, is living there right now. If you're talking about the one next to Pine Lawn, we have not investigated that yet, but we probably will in the near future if he allows us to do that. He told me I could at one time, but we just haven't done it yet. But yeah, that was the old Sumner Nursing Home. So no, we have not gotten in the South building yet for the nursing home area. Deb says she's late to the party. Hey, Greg Koss is on here. Hey, Greg. Glad to see you guys watching tonight. But again, just kind of going back from the beginning of the Crawford County Ghost Hunters, where we've been. And like I say, the advancements in technology from where we started to now. And the good thing and bad thing of, paranormal investigating today versus yesterday, the good thing is it's more accepted today than it ever has been. We're no longer these weirdos running around in cemeteries. They look at us with, and some groups are actually doing scientific research into paranormal phenomena and ghostly, like haunting phenomena. Some people are just out there for a thrill. And that's where you have to separate the actual groups from these thrill-seeking TV wannabe groups that, are just doing this for the fun of it. We're a serious group, and we're actually doing research into life after death and these occurrences that are taking place. So, we try to separate ourselves from some of these groups. I don't like to call them amateur groups and us professional, because I hate using that term, but you do have these beginner groups that just have no idea, why they're doing this. They're just out there running around screaming and scaring each other. And that's where you get the punk kids going to cemeteries and tearing things up and, vandalism. It's just dumb. It's like, if we ever catch anybody doing that, we are could definitely report them and they will not do it again. But you get a lot of these groups that are looking at these TV shows and seeing all this stuff that it's demons, and like Zach running around on ghost adventures, he's scaring the heck out of people, and everything's demonic. Every place he goes, he gets stuff. Everything crazy happens. It's just like, that's the bad part of paranormal research right now. The bad part of paranormal research is a lot of people have gotten away from documentation of evidence through photography, video, and audio. They're just out there running around, scaring each other and being dumb. And they're misinformed on the equipment big time nowadays. They think EMF meters detect, anytime an EMF meter goes off, it's paranormal activity, when we all know electromagnetic fields affect EMF meters, and that's everything from your cell phone to radio communication. RF is cell phone communication. You've got RF signals through cell phones, radios, lights, power lines, Wi-Fi signal, internet. There's all types of sources of things that will affect an EMF meter and make a little K2 meter blink red like you see on the TV shows. So, and all they have to do is have somebody with a two-way radio on these TV shows in the background, key in the two-way radio. And my God, they've got an EMF hit and a ghost is there. So that's why I'm not a big fan of EMF meters for paranormal research either. And I haven't been for a long time, because once you understand electromagnetic fields and what they are, yes, the human body does have its own electric field. So that's the whole theory and thought process behind using EMF meters for paranormal research, is because when we die, do we keep an electromagnetic field or some type of electric field associated with our energy or our force or soul, whatever you want to call it? Is there still a detectable source of energy there? And that's why EMF meters can possibly be used for paranormal research. But the problem is, you've got to kill the power to the house. You can't be near power lines. Cell phones have to be put away, turned off in a box. You have to use Faraday cages to on some stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to eliminate electromagnetic interference with your EMF meters to say that was caused by a ghost or spirit. And people aren't doing that. They're leaving their phones on. They're filming, filming video as they're doing it, which we do too. When we go live, we're filming video. That's why we can't use the EMF meters a lot, because like the Mel meter doesn't pick up as much as like the tri-fields does. That's why you'll see me with the Mel meter a lot of times on a live feed. But if we're going live, I don't like to use EMF meters, because I can't say that EMF hit wasn't caused from our camera or something like that. So, EMF is highly misused in the field of paranormal research by these new investigators. They think it's automatically a ghost because your EMF meter goes off, and it's not a ghost. It's an electromagnetic field or disturbance in the electromagnetic field. These non-contact infrared laser thermometers, that's highly misused by these new investigators. The equipment is being misused. It sends out a beam, bounces it off, an infrared beam bounces it off the wall. It's surface temperature. It's not ambient temperature. You're not getting something between the wall and that device, which would be a ghost. You're getting the wall temperature. So it's sending that beam out, kind of like a thermal imaging camera even. It just, you've got to have a solid object to register that back, and everything is composed of heat and energy. So, that's how thermal imaging works too. You've got that thermal image on there that you're seeing, but you're not catching something between that object and the thermal camera. You're catching a solid object that it's registering as a heat source. Same way with a thermal, with a thermal scanner, infrared contact thermometer, they think they're catching orbs or mist or some type of anomaly between that device when they're measuring the surface temperature of the object. And just a lot of stuff's misused in the field of paranormal research today. But there's been a lot of good come. Technology is advanced. We've got ghost hunting stores now with equipment, with different stuff being made. Just got to be extremely careful, because if it looks and sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And you got to go back to the basics, which is audio, video, and photography. Audio, video, and photography is what documents occurrences. It's not an EMF meter. That some of the EMF meters now will record onto an SD card, and you can document the fluctuations in electromagnetic fields versus temperature change. Now that's good, like the eddy meter. When you get a lot of environmental changes corresponding with a paranormal event, that's proof of evidence. If you can document it like the eddy meter does with a card, you can go back and look in your computer to see if you got a temperature change, an EMF spike, a barometric pressure change, a vibration or something weird, humidity change, all at the same time you recorded an EVP. Now, that's a lot of evidence and environmental data saying that something paranormal could have taken place. But unless you have all that together, you can't just automatically jump to the conclusion and say that's a ghost. But anyway, Greg says, I really miss watching your show, Jason. When can we get together on our shows? I think you're due on mine first. Great show tonight. Thanks, Greg. I'll get you back on here soon. I'll message you as soon as the show's over, and I'll get you on here. I'll get on yours one. So yeah, I always have fun. Greg Koss out there, guys. He's a paranormal investigator. Also got a team, and he's with I think it's the Shadow Hunters. Why don't you pop your team name down there, Greg? Link to your team so people can look at that. But yeah, I met Greg with the he's with the Ghost Research Society too. We've been on several investigations together. Great guy, and he knows a lot of stuff too. Been doing it a long time, so I always like the other investigators out there watching too. So, but anyway, guys, that's some of the early days. We had a lot of investigations in the early days. All over the place. I can't even name half of them. We've investigated boats. We had one incident where a guy had fell off a boat fishing. He was drunk, fell off the boat, and died. They brought his boat back and parked it in a garage, and the house and garage became haunted, and the activity was centering around the boat. Fishing poles were moving in the boat. Like there was some beer cans in the boat, and they would like rattle around in there by themselves. Like they were having weird activity associated around the boat that the guy died off of. So just a lot of unique cases we've had over the years of people experiencing things that they can't explain. And that's why we're here. We're trying to help people with the things you can't explain. There we go. Shadow Hunters, Paranormal Investigators, and event page. That's Greg's Facebook page, guys. If you want to go check that out, highly recommend it. Check him out on his page. He has a show too. I think it's on Friday nights, if I'm not mistaken. So check him out, guys, on there. But just a lot of investigations. One of the places like we investigated back in the day was the old slave house. And I just found these the other day from like my photo albums, a 35 millimeter. This was like the mid to late 90s. We investigated the old slave house at Hickory Hill, which is the old Crenshaw house. And it's down in southern Illinois. A lot of activity there. Now they're trying to debunk it to say that there were no slaves associated with it. It was all a prank and a joke. I don't think so on that one. I've been there. I've been to the upstairs. There was bars in the attic. I went into the attic. There's bars across there where they kept or held somebody. So I would say that is definitely a real slave house because there are some people trying to say that slaves weren't even kept there now, and I'm pretty sure they were. But I just found a whole photo album, of back in the day when we investigated that thing, of 35 millimeter pics that I lost. And I just found them cleaning and going through some of my files the other day of our investigation at Hickory Hill at the old slave house. I'm going to try to get these online, guys, and show them all to you eventually and post them as an album. But, this place was really beautiful back in the day. Now you can't even get up close to it. And this is one of my photographs from back in the day. We still can't really explain. We thought this was originally a full body apparition over here on this side that I took inside one of the rooms at the old slave house at Hickory Hill. And what appears to be a dress is a vase in the background. So don't let pareidolia fool you into thinking that's like a ruffle in the dress. But what we can't explain is this gray, is this like arm looking thing coming off here, and then the white shadow in the corner. It almost looks like half of an apparition. But that's one of my photographs that we've always questioned over the years too. I don't know how well you guys can see that out there. But again, pictures from the old slave house here. I found I'll be posted up on Facebook sometime. I've got to get these run through a scanner so I can post them up there. But this one says only women and small children were kept behind the bars, behind the iron bars, maximum of 8 to 10 in each cell. and that's talking about the cells and stuff in the attic that I took pictures of there. But again, there's people that claim that, the slave house wasn't real and they never held people there. I guarantee you they did. There was too much evidence suggesting that they did. Anyway, cool album. I'll post those sometime for you guys to look at. But we did a lot of investigations back in the day, and a lot of stuff wasn't posted. A lot of stuff I don't post yet. I got a lot of stuff to post from 2020, all our summertime investigations from Brushy Mountain to Pinhurst. I mean, I'm way behind on my social media, guys, because like I say, tonight I was going to start the show at 9 or 8, I guess it is, and got called out for a medical run for the fire department, so I couldn't start it, and I was late. And that's usually what happens when I get a post up on social media. Something happens and I have to go, or something's going on. So I apologize if we're kind of behind on our social media posts and pictures and everything, but we will get a lot of those posted throughout the coming months, especially when it gets cold, and maybe I get some free time to sit in here and upload everything. But we do a lot of investigation you guys don't see. Have you ever been to Waverly Hills? At Waverly Hills, we've got a lot of stuff going on, guys, in 2021, and that's what I want to talk about, real quick before we end the show here. But let's see here. Yeah, we've got like 10 minutes, but we are going to investigate Waverly Hills Sanitarium in 2021. I will give you a heads up on that. So look forward to that. We will be doing Waverly Hills. We've got a lot on our list, so we've got some really cool places. That's not where we're going on the 22nd. Again, we're going to another one on the 22nd, and it's been on the Travel Channel and the scariest places on Earth, and rated, I think, number 4. It's the scariest place in the United States, but that's where we're going this month on the 22nd. It'll be our first live feed of the year, other than our talk show, obviously, our first live investigation of the year. And but we have got a lineup coming for 2021. You guys thought 2020 was awesome. Wait till you see what we're doing in 2021, guys. It's going to be really cool. A lot of houses, a lot of outdoor stuff for the summertime. So definitely hang in there and watch our live feeds, because we got a lot of cool stuff happening. Tammy Cullen says, have you been to Hannibal, Missouri, to the Baptist Cemetery? We have not. Not sure I've even heard of that one. So if you want to private message us information on that, or I can look it up, Tammy. That's interesting. Sometimes you guys tell us stuff we never even heard of it. So, but we will be investigating a lot of locations, a couple locations, cool locations in Robinson. Even we're going to be posting about, talking about, going live from. But we can go live from the 22nd. It's going to be neat. But Karen says she can't wait. But hi, guys. Kind of babbled a little on the night show. I was rambling on about some of the early days, and I want to get into some of my future shows. We're going to talk more about some of the locations we've investigated in the past, and kind of how we're talking about kind of how we evolved over the years from not knowing what dust particles look like on photography now to being able to pretty much rule out all photographs as having a natural explanation. And being able to debunk things scientifically, that's where we're at now. Almost like crime scene investigators, we go in and if it's not a ghost, we will tell you it's not a ghost. We don't automatically assume things are ghosts, and we would rather not find evidence than find evidence, because not every place is haunted. Mostly haunted people is what we've encountered over the years. We've learned not haunted houses, if you know what I mean. Most of the time it's the person that's haunted mentally, and they think something's going on when it's not. But I don't want to discourage people from calling us in, because you might legitimately have something going on that you can't explain. So don't let our way of investigating discourage you guys, or discourage anyone out there from calling us on an investigation, because you may have the next Pine Lawn. Pine Lawn's the most haunted place we've ever seen. We may investigate your house and say, oh my God, this house on Cherry Street's the most haunted place we've ever seen now. So don't be discouraged from calling us, even though, we might debunk what you find. That's why we're here. We're going to tell you whether it's natural or whether you've got the next Pine Lawn Manor on your hands. So, call us in. We'll investigate places free of charge. And just don't be scared to call us. Don't be afraid to, say, hey, I want you to check this place out. And because we won't be mad if we don't find anything. That's what we do. We investigate things and debunk things and try to come up with natural explanations. But there's those times we can't. So definitely give us a call if you guys have a place out there. And I'm probably going to get off here for the night, losing my voice again. But Gary says, great shows always. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. And I'll be waiting for another pylon. Awesome. But thank all you guys for watching, as always, out there in Facebook land tonight and YouTube. And we will be back definitely on the 22nd with a live paranormal investigation right now at an undisclosed location. But we will put it on the Facebook page here soon and get it shared around as to where we're going. Like I say, fourth scariest place in the United States, according to some. And again, have a good evening out there, everyone. Again, I'm Jason Snyder with the Crawford County Ghost Hunters, and we will be having our show again next Monday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Unless we go live from some location before then, I will see you guys on the next show, and then the 22nd. Have a good evening, everyone.